Hey everyone, in the previous video we discussed about how we can create variables in Python and what are the advantages of variables. There are actually some rules we should follow while naming these variables. Now let's see the rules for naming variables in Python. When you say rules, we must follow them or else Python will not consider that as a variable. The first rule is variable name must start with a letter, which means English alphabets either in uppercase or lowercase, or underscore, which means if this is the variable name, the first character in the variable name should either be a letter or an underscore. It can't be anything else. Coming to the second rule, a variable name can contain only letters, numbers, and underscores. Letters as in the alphabets in uppercase or lowercase. Numbers means the numerical digits or an underscore. So we can have only these characters inside our variable name. No special symbols are allowed, which means, let's say if this is the variable name, so this is the first character, right? It should be either a letter or an underscore. The subsequent characters, right? Even these can only have letters, digits, or underscores. You can't have any other special symbols. And the third rule is the variable name can't be a Python keyword. So in any programming language, there are some words which have some specific purposes. They are used for writing some specific syntaxes. For example, if you take in Python, we use for while writing for loop syntaxes, we use if else for writing if else conditional statements. And for example, if you see true, this is a Boolean value. And you see while is used for writing while loops, and we have a special value called none. All these have a specific purpose in Python, and that's why these are called keywords and we can't use them as our variable names. We actually have more than 30 keywords in Python, but you don't actually need to memorize them. As you learn more and more concepts, you will easily figure out which particular word is a keyword. For example, when you learn for loop syntax, you will understand for is a keyword. Similarly, when you learn about if-else conditional statements, you will easily understand if and else are some keywords used to write if-else syntax. Similarly, when you learn while loop, you will understand while is a keyword. So as you learn more and more concepts, it will be much clear to you which particular word is a keyword. But if at all you are interested in finding out the list of all keywords in Python, you can use this keyword module. A module is nothing but a Python file, just like the Python files we are creating to write our programs. And when you install Python, Python provides us some pre-written Python files, which we can utilize while writing our programs. So we are trying to import a module called keyword. This is the syntax. Don't worry, we'll learn about import and modules in future. And now to print the list of all keywords, we can use print of keyword.kwlist. It will print the list of all keywords in Python. Let's create a new Python file, variable naming. And here I'm trying to import module keyword, right? And let's try to print keyword.kwlist. Right now, if you try to run this code, so as you can see, it prints the list of all keywords available in Python. So you can't use these names while naming your variables. And one more thing is, as soon as you write a keyword in IDE, for example, as soon as I write this word while, it highlights this PyCharm highlights this in orange color. The color might vary if you are using a different IDE, but most of the IDEs, they highlight the keywords. So here, let's check if while is a keyword. So you can see, yeah, while is a keyword. Similarly, as you can see, import is also keyword. So it is also highlighted in orange. So this is one more way of easily finding out if a particular word is a keyword. So let's see some examples of valid and invalid variable names. So in this first example, as you can see, the first character is a letter, right? So first one should be either a letter or underscore. So it is fine. Even the other characters in this name are only letters. So this is valid. And if you go to this one, it started with a star symbol, right? We can only have either letter or an underscore in the first character. So this is not valid. So here you can see you have a digit in the first character. So it started with a digit. This is also not allowed. So if you see here, the variable name must start with a letter or an underscore. The subsequent characters can either be letter, underscore, or even digits, but it can't start with a digit. So this is not valid. So as you can see here, it started with a letter. In the other characters in this name, we only have letters and digit, which is fine. So this is allowed. Here you can see it started with a underscore. It is fine. Even the subsequent characters are letters. So this is also valid. So let's see this case. Okay, it started with underscore, which is perfectly fine. And if you see the subsequent characters, it has letters and it has a special symbol plus. You can't have any other special symbol in a variable name other than underscore. So this is not valid. If you can see here, it started with a letter. The subsequent characters are only letters, digit, and underscore. So this is valid. So here, it started with a letter, which is fine. Even the subsequent characters are only letters, which is also fine. But this is a keyword, while is a keyword. So this is not valid. Here you can see while is different than underscore while. This while is a keyword, but when you write underscore while, it's a different word altogether. So here if you can see, the first character is underscore, which is fine. The subsequent characters are also letters, which is fine. Even in this case, the first character is a letter. The subsequent characters are only letters and a digit. This is also allowed. So I hope now with these examples, you are able to understand the rules for naming variables. Now let's see what happens when we use invalid variable names. For example, if here I create a variable underscore abc is equal to 10. So this is perfectly fine, right? It is following the rules. But if I take underscore abc star d is equal to 10. So here, just let's try to run this code. As you can see here, it throws a syntax error because as soon as it sees a special symbol, Python expects something. What it expects depends on what kind of expression you are writing, but it will not identify that as a variable. Just like how it identified underscore abc as a variable, it will not be able to identify this as a variable. So it will throw some sort of an error. Now let's try one more invalid variable name. Let's say 9abc is equal to 10. Here it started with a digit, which is not allowed. First character should either be underscore or a letter, right? So this is not allowed. If you try to run this, you can see here also you have a syntax error. It says invalid decimal literal, right? So it is not able to identify this as a variable. Similarly now, let's say you are using variable name while is equal to 10. Now if you try to run this, so it again throws a syntax error. Because as soon as Python sees a keyword, it expects something because keywords have some specific purpose. So as soon as it sees while, it expects you are writing a while loop, but you are writing something else. So Python will not be able to identify this as a variable. Now, as discussed initially, these are actually rules for naming variables, which means we must follow them, or else Python will not identify that as a variable. Now, this underscore abc is a valid variable name, right? Python allows it. Like if you try to run this code, it successfully runs. You can even try to print this variable. If you try to run this, it successfully runs, right? So this underscore abc is a valid variable name. But does this mean this is a good variable name? It probably is not, right? Because the name underscore abc, it looks very random. It is not telling us what kind of information it has. So along with rules, we also have some recommended naming conventions for variables. When you say recommended naming conventions, these are not mandatory, but it is good to follow. As a good developer, you should always try to follow them. The first naming convention is the variable names should be meaningful. For example, let's say you're creating a variable for the name of a person. So instead of giving a random name like A, you can give a more meaningful variable name like name in this case. So this is not so good variable name, but this is a good variable name. As soon as you see this, you understand what name is holding. So if you're creating a variable for name of a person, you can use a variable name called name in this case. Similarly, if you're trying to create a variable for age of a person, instead of giving a random name like X, Y, you can use the name age and you can assign the age of a person, let's say 25. So you should always try to use the meaningful variable names so that if someone else looks into your code, they will easily understand what kind of information these variables have. The second naming convention is we should follow snake case. Let's say your variable name is a big one made up of multiple words like student and name in this case. Uh, we should use snake case, which means all letters should be in lowercase and you should join these words using an underscore. So here student name is written in this way. Similarly, now here we have country of residence. These are three different words. So all letters will be in lowercase and these words are joined with underscore. So country of residence is equal to India. So let's say we have a variable student name. Let's give Bob. Similarly, let's say you have roll number. Let's say 101. Similarly, country of residence is equal to India. So this is how you should give variable names in snake case. So this is the standard naming followed by all the Python developers. So if you use these kind of names, your code will automatically look more professional. And one more thing you have to remember is Python is a case sensitive language. Now let's say you have variables name, and name, but in this name, the first letter is uppercase and here all letters are in uppercase. These three are treated as three different variables. Let's say I'm using a variable name and assigning value Sachin. And here I'm using variable name with N in uppercase. Let's say Saurav. And here I'm using all uppercase letters and say Rahul, right? So as you can see here, even though all these are name, and name, the cases are different and these are treated differently. So let's try to print all of them. So we can print by separating with comma, right? And name. Now if you try to run this, you can see here this first name is Sachin. The second name with N uppercase is Saurav and all caps is Rahul. So before closing the video, among these three names, which one is better? The first one, right? Because if you remember, we should follow snake case, which means all letters should be in lowercase. If you don't have multiple words, you don't need an underscore, but all letters should be in lowercase. So that's why this is much better variable name. So this is just a convention, right? Like not a rule. Even if you don't follow this, if you use these names, this is totally fine. But as a good developer, you should always try to follow standard naming conventions. With this, I hope that you understood how to name variables in Python. I'll see you in the next video.